India would like to re-emphasize its position on the recent developments in the Middle East. First, we express our deep concern at the conflict in Iran and the Gulf region that unfortunately began in the holy month of Ramadan and urged all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation and prioritize the safety of civilians.
संयुक्त राष्ट्र सुरक्षा परिषद में भारत ने एक बार फिर मध्य पूर्व की मौजूदा स्थिति पर एक बड़ा बयान दिया। भारत के स्थायी प्रतिनिधि पी हरीश ने एडवांसिंग पॉलिटिकल सॉल्यूशंस इन द मिडिल ईस्ट विषय पर आयोजित ओपन डिबेट में भारत का पक्ष रखा। बैठक की शुरुआत में भारत ने कोलंबिया को सुरक्षा परिषद की अध्यक्षता संभालने पर बधाई और इस चर्चा को बुलाने के लिए धन्यवाद दिया। साथ ही सभी ब्रीफर्स के विचारों को महत्वपूर्ण बताया। भारत ने कहा कि ये चर्चा ऐसे समय पर हो रही है जब मध्य पूर्व गंभीर संघर्षों, मानवीय संकट और बड़े पैमाने पर विस्थापन जैसी स्थितियों से गुजर रहा है। भारत ने अपने बयान में कहा कि इस पूरे क्षेत्र में चल रहे संघर्षों का असर सिर्फ युद्ध तक सीमित नहीं है, बल्कि इसका सीधा प्रभाव आम नागरिकों, वैश्विक व्यापार और ऊर्जा आपूर्ति पर पड़ रहा है। भारत ने खास तौर पर समुद्री मार्गों की सुरक्षा पर चिंता जताते हुए कहा कि जहाजों पर हमले, सप्लाई चेन में रुकावट और ऊर्जा प्रवाह में बाधा पूरी दुनिया की अर्थव्यवस्था को प्रभावित कर रही है। इस दौरान ईरान और खाड़ी क्षेत्र में बढ़ते तनाव पर भी भारत ने गहरी चिंता जताई और सभी पक्षों से संयम बरतने, तनाव न बढ़ाने और नागरिकों की सुरक्षा को प्राथमिकता देने की अपील की। देखिए भारत के स्थायी प्रतिनिधि पी हरीश ने क्या कुछ कहा।
Madam President, I congratulate Colombia for assuming presidency of the Security Council for the month and thank you for convening today's open debate. I also thank the briefers for their insightful remarks. Today's open debate is especially significant in the backdrop of the ongoing conflicts in the Middle East, the immense humanitarian and human toll in terms of loss of lives, injuries, and large-scale displacement of vulnerable civilian populations, impediments to freedom of navigation and consequent impact on global flow of commerce, including massive disruptions to established supply chains and global energy supplies. India would like to re-emphasize its position on the recent developments in the Middle East. First, we express our deep concern at the conflict in Iran and the Gulf region that unfortunately began in the holy month of Ramadan and urged all sides to exercise restraint, avoid escalation and prioritize the safety of civilians. The intensification of the conflict and its spread to other nations have evoked great anxiety. The mounting destruction and deaths and cessation of normal life and economic activities have deeply impacted India, a proximate neighbor with critical stakes in the security and stability of the region. There are almost 10 million Indian citizens who live and work in the Gulf region. Their safety and well-being are of utmost priority to us. Our trade and energy supply chains are dependent on stability in the region, and any major disruption has serious consequences for the Indian economy. India is also firmly opposed to attacks on merchant shipping, as many of our nationals are prominent in its global workforce. Many Indian nationals have lost their lives or are missing as a result of attacks against countries of the region and against merchant vessels and sea lanes of communication. In this background, India strongly reiterated its call for dialogue and diplomacy, avoiding impeding freedom of navigation and commerce, avoiding military targeting of commercial shipping, avoiding targeting of civilian population and infrastructure, and seeking an early end to the conflict. India expressed its support to all efforts aimed at peaceful resolution of issues. Second, regarding the situation in Gaza, we believe it has grave humanitarian implications that calls for a sustained ceasefire, humanitarian access, and a credible pathway towards a durable and peaceful resolution based on a negotiated two-state solution with a sovereign, independent, viable state of Palestine living side by side in peace and security with Israel, within secure and recognized borders. This remains the only path to achieve lasting peace and overall prosperity. India is also a committed development partner of Palestine with projects worth $170 million. We will be handing over in a few days $2.5 million to UNRWA, the first tranche of our annual contribution of $5 million. Third, regarding Lebanon, we call for respect for Lebanon's territorial integrity and sovereignty and affirm the importance of implementing UN Security Council Resolution 1701 of 11th August 2006, as well as a declaration on the cessation of hostilities issued on 26 November 2024. Indian troops are deployed in UNIFIL, and we call for ensuring safety and security of peacekeepers. They carry out a vital mandate entrusted by this council, and they must not be targeted. India will also be sending medical assistance to Lebanon. Fourth, on Yemen, we remain committed to the unity, sovereignty, independence, and territorial integrity of the Republic of Yemen, condemn attacks on maritime navigation, emphasize that the protection of the vital Bab el-Mandab Strait and the southern Red Sea is a shared international responsibility and a matter of global interest, and remain opposed to attempts to undermine stability in the Gulf of Aden, the Arabian Sea, and the Indian Ocean. With regard to specific issues highlighted in the concept note, I'd like to make the following points. First, the UN Charter offers a repertoire of options to address conflicts and de-escalate tensions. None of these options have universal applicability. Every situation warrants a tailor-made, customized approach. The context must be an important consideration in identifying the best approach. For instance, as Article 36(2) of the UN Charter specifies, procedures that have been already agreed upon by concerned parties need to be given due consideration wherever applicable. In the context of the Middle East, peace agreements between Israel and Egypt and Jordan have been very durable. Second, national ownership must be a central parameter for the implementation of third-party interventions. External solutions must not be imposed. Parties concerned must be on board with regard to undertaking actions that are aimed at achieving peaceful resolution of issues. These parties must also be fully involved at all stages. Third, the international peace and security landscape is dynamic and fast-changing. There are growing complexities due to economic crises and de-development, demographic challenges, supply chain disruptions, rising terrorism impulses, and increasing risks from emerging technologies. The UN must remain agile and equipped to deal with contemporary and future challenges. Fourth, the biggest casualty of all conflicts and disputes is human welfare and well-being, especially of vulnerable groups such as women and children. Any intervention must therefore attach centrality to alleviating human suffering. There must be a human-centric approach towards all efforts that endeavor to resolve disputes and address conflicts. Fifth, mediation frameworks once created are not fit for purpose forever. If they fail to fulfill their mandated tasks and new realities emerge that make such earlier frameworks redundant, we must adapt and continue our efforts in tune with the new realities. For example, the Palestine issue is replete with outdated mediation frameworks that are not relevant in today's context. Today's Gaza Peace Plan and the Board of Peace framework are very distinct as compared to earlier frameworks. Finally, the UN is facing questions related to legitimacy, credibility, and efficacy. Raging conflicts in different parts of the world and the immeasurable human suffering are driving factors. The perception about this organization has changed considerably among the world's citizenry due to its inability to address conflict situations. A primary reason has been an 8-decade-old outdated architecture of the Security Council, the principal UN organ that is tasked with maintenance of international peace and security. Implementing real reforms through expansion of both the permanent and non-permanent categories in accordance with today's geopolitical realities is vital to UN's continued relevance and future. The UNSC has to be fit for purpose. Madam President, in conclusion, India would like to stress that the people across the Middle East deserve sustained peace and normalcy. India stands fully ready to contribute towards realizing this goal in order to secure peace, prosperity, and well-being of the people of the region and beyond. I thank you, Madam President.
कुल मिलाकर भारत ने स्पष्ट किया कि मध्य पूर्व के लोग लंबे समय से शांति और स्थिरता के हकदार हैं और भारत इस दिशा में हर संभव सहयोग देने के लिए पूरी तरह तैयार है। वहीं भारत ने जोर देकर कहा कि स्थायी शांति का रास्ता केवल बातचीत, कूटनीति और सहयोग से ही निकल सकता है, न कि संघर्ष और टकराव से। भारत के इस बयान पर आपका क्या कुछ कहना है, कमेंट करके जरूर बताएं। ब्यूरो रिपोर्ट, भारत।